right, y'all. We made it. We here. NFC Championship game now. I cannot tell you how great of a game this was, and how, I mean, you could throw all the numbers out the window. All you analytics guys, all you numbers guys, all the all of that. Go take a seat, go have a Coke and a smile. Like this game was about one team just out physicaling the other team. And I don't even think out physicaling is a word, but I don't care. We're using it today. It was incredible to see guys step up and special teams step up that had previously let the 49ers down time after time after time. For that, that's a winning team when guys just step up and get it done in opportune times. It's I can't even tell you. I had to wait till this morning to do my video because I was so I was just so emotional. My voice was just gone because, I mean, look at that. If you watched the game last night, you would have seen the fact that there was so much tension because there was just no scoring. There was no scoring going on, and you just kept waiting. You just kept waiting for it to explode, and it just never did. So it's just, yeah, it was a lot of screaming at the TV, and and it was a throwback game, and like it wasn't a whole bunch of. I'm sure the league was upset by this game. I'm sure the league was upset in the last game, in the game before that came before it, with the Bengals and Titans. I'm sure they were upset about that game because quite frequently we talk about all the numbers in the DVOAs and the top ranked offenses. We talk about offense all the time, right? But in the playoffs, it comes down, the defense ends up coming through, and there's not as much scoring. There just isn't, because you're playing teams are better, and you're just not going to get that same scoring punch. So as much as the league can sit there and make all the extra rules to try and open up the offenses, the reality is when it comes down to it, it's about these teams, who's going to survive the punch in the mouth. And 49ers have kind of proven, I don't like the bullies and like all that other nonsense. I don't really like that Frank, because I don't think 49ers are bullies. I think that their style is a very physical style of football, and they just find a way. They get contributions from everybody, but they have to play that physical style because they don't have, to be honest, let's just be real, they don't have a quarterback that can throw the ball around the yard and get them points at will. So they have to play that physical style, and they have to hope that physical style and then putting their hands on you is going to get them through the game. But let's just start it off with the results. The 49ers win. 49ers win, going to the NFC Championship. Most ridiculous game I've ever seen. Ever. And I've been watching football over 30 years. 35 years, to be honest. So it's Green Bay had this game won over and over and over. The defense and special teams just willed us to this victory. I mean, it's that simple. Debo Samuel, MVP of the league. I don't care what anybody says. I'll argue with you till I'm blue in the face. Debo Samuel is the MVP of this league, and definitely the MVP of the 49ers. It's not even a question at this point. That man, and we'll talk about him later in the offensive part, but that man is, I know I'm saying this a lot, but I've never seen anything like it. The guy just basically saying, give me the ball and I'll make something happen at any given moment. So it's just, Debo is that dude. And I hope Rodgers retires. I hope he just goes out because he's just setting himself up for failure. It doesn't matter if he goes to another team. In my opinion, he's going to go to the wrong team. I think that this was his best opportunity this season. They had a great team in Green Bay. They had a great team. This was his opportunity to get it done. He couldn't get it done. He scored 10 points in the element in Lambeau where he's like almost undefeated in the playoffs, except for the Niners and like I think one other team, but he's just not. Of course he's a top 2, top 3 quarterback in the league, but when I think if you take away his number one option, figure out a way to take away what he wants to do best, and it could be his rapport with the head coach and the offensive coordinator there, but I don't see it. I don't see it. It's definitely not going to happen in Green Bay. I think Green Bay has a squad. I think they have a squad. I think they have everything needed for Rodgers to win. I just think that he just hit a bad matchup because playoffs are all about the matchups. And we knew as 49er fans that our defensive line was going to put pressure all game long. It was going to be coming. And we were only going to rush 4. Occasionally they'd throw an extra guy out there, but yeah, we knew that they were going to put that our defensive line was going to put pressure, and it was all up to Aaron Rodgers how he handled that pressure. Well, quite frequently, I'm not going to go into his personal life, but quite frequently, I feel like Aaron Rodgers thinks that he's smarter than everybody else, and I think that is what really kind of kills him, his ego, and he just thinks he's smarter than everybody else. So he always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, and it keeps getting proven to him over and over in the playoffs that he's not. He's just not. So he has an ungodly amount of physical ability, even at his age. He has a ridiculous amount of ability, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to executing and doing what it takes to win these types of games, he comes up short. And I'm not going to put it all on him because obviously it was they're Green Bay special teams. We're going to get to Green Bay in a second, but I hope Rodgers retires because he just needs to go away. That's all I'm going to say about it. But DeMeco Ryans, he's going to be a head coach next season. He's done for the 49ers. All the 49er fans, I hope we win the Super Bowl. I mean, I hope we win the Super Bowl anyway, but I hope we get there because I would love to see DeMeco get one as our defensive coordinator because he has been so phenomenal in the game plan that to hold Aaron Rodgers to 10 points, in Lambeau, in Rodgers' element, he went into Lambeau and held that man. We didn't have Amber Thomas in this game. Remember that. And like I said, we're going to get to the defense later, but he didn't have him. He didn't have all of his pieces. And he just finds a way. He doesn't need all of his pieces. It just comes down. That's what it really comes down to. He like a piece goes down. Okay, well, I'll just do a little bit of this and I'm just going to magically make it happen. We're just going to make it happen. Make it do what it do. So DeMeco Ryans is going to be a head coach. Probably, like I heard a lot of people say, it's probably going to be for the Vikings. But I would say every team that has an opening should be calling this man today, and getting him on the books to at least get an interview. There is no excuse for him not getting any kind of interviews. So, but I fully expect for DeMeco Ryans not to be our defensive coordinator after this season, just so we're clear. But let's talk about the Packers just for a little bit. Let's talk about the results of this game on the Packers side. Green Bay gave us their best shot in the first drive. They just couldn't finish. And quite frequently, that's what we say about Jimmy. But in this game, it really was about Aaron Rodgers and his and to be honest, I felt it was the turning point of this game because they were still moving the ball. But I felt the turning point in this game was first when they started bracketing Devonta Adams and just kind of removed him. After that first drive, they figured out a way to just remove him from the game plan. D'Amico Ryans again. But Rodgers went 20-29, 225 yards, no touchdowns, and no interceptions. If that isn't a masterful job by a defensive coordinator, I don't really know what is. We're talking about a top 3 quarterback in the league to hold him to 225 and no touchdowns. That's phenomenal. That's 2 straight weeks that he's done that to top quarterbacks. But it was possibly Rodgers' worst performance of his career in the playoffs. And for him to, and I get it that he's getting up there in age, but the ability isn't lost. He's got tons of ability still. And I just think that he kept going back to the well of what he normally does. And that's what I saw in this game. That's what I saw that I'd never noticed before about Aaron Rodgers. He goes to the well with what he does good over and over and over and over and over again. And if you can cut those things off, he gets frazzled and he freezes. And I noticed that a lot. I mean, he got sacked 5 times in this game. I mean, I'll be interested later to check out the stats and see how many times he got actually hit. But yeah, he froze. He froze a couple of times. They took away Devonta Adams and they took away the running game. And I just don't think that Aaron Rodgers liked all the routes. And I'm sure that he's going to frame this as it was the coaching and not him. But that's not what I saw. I saw the way that he navigates the pocket, the way that he what he was waiting for to see on the field. It was the same. He was waiting to see the same things over and over again. And when it wasn't there, what I will give him is that he knows how to throw the ball away. That's something that Jimmy could just learn from, is that when to just throw the ball away. He probably would have taken 6 or 7 sacks if he had just thrown the ball away a couple of times. So yeah, Aaron Rodgers, as great of a quarterback as he is, I just felt like the 49ers really kind of just took advantage of his tendencies. And it was kind of weird to see the fact that I could even see his tendencies that I had never seen before. And he's been in the league forever. But yeah, it was a really eye-opening game for as far as I was concerned. I'm sure a lot of people, a lot of the tape crunchers and all the tape guys will probably end up saying, "Oh, well, we've seen this forever." But that was the first time that it was glaringly obvious. So, but whether it was absolutely a factor for them, but it became a factor for. It was a factor for the 49ers in the beginning of the game, but it became a factor for both teams by the half. By the half, Green Bay was struggling with the weather just as much as the 49ers were. That's why I say all the time, cold weather, these cold weather teams, they cold too. They going through it just like you are. And you hitting them in the mouth hurts just as bad in that cold weather for them as it does for you. So while weather was obviously a factor, look at the score. But the fact that people thought that the weather was going to benefit Rodgers and Rodgers was just going to throw up like 40 in this game, it should be an eye opener for the rest of you that we're saying those things. But their running backs were definitely a factor in the beginning of this game. Aaron Jones had 129 yards receiving because he had the one long pass, the one long run off of that. I don't think it was a screen. It was just he just dumped it off to him, and he didn't dump it off to him. He came up the sideline, and it was a mistake by miscommunication. Our corner and Jimmy Ward had miscommunication, and they and they just basically let him go. And he ended up with a long, thank God they caught him. Thank God they caught him. That was game saver, because at the end of that transition, when they go in and they start doing their plays after that, it was the 49er defense shut him down. And then Jimmy Ward blocks a kick, completely making up for the miscommunication, blocks the kick. And so they get no points off of that. Like, those are the type of things those are backbreakers for a team. And I felt like Green Bay lost a lot of steam just off of that play right there. But once again, came down to special teams. I mean, as bad as the 49ers special teams has been all season, Green Bay's were statistically worse. And like I said, I don't put a ton into statistics, but if you can have a worse special teams than the 49ers, that's saying something, because our special teams are terrible. And but their special teams were so bad that they just couldn't overcome it at the end of the day. But A.J. Dillon had the only TD for Green Bay, and then he went down at some point. I think it was the beginning of the second half, and that really was kind of a turning point for their running game. They couldn't run the ball after that. They could not run the ball after that. Aaron Jones was not going to they weren't just going to pound Aaron Jones. That's not his style. And that is not, that's what they got A.J. Dillon for. And when he went down with that chest injury, it really kind of cut off their running game, and they just started just passing. But I think they got 67 yards total rushing. Once again, 49ers run defense showed up. They weren't showing up in the beginning of the game. It made me nervous, but then as the game went on, 49ers just turned the faucet off. And even when A.J. Dillon was in there, the reason why he got the chest injury is because he was getting hit in the mouth. So yeah, the 49er kudos to D'Amico Ryan for shutting the faucet off. And it was just, it was master. I can't stop talking about D'Amico Ryans, but Devonta Adams had 9 receptions, 90 yards. That was huge for the 49ers. Once I saw that D'Amico had kind of taken Devonta out of the game, and they were showing the replays of how he was bracketing him, and that the fact that that Rodgers couldn't find anybody else, not Cobb, not Lazard, nobody. All he could find was the running backs. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones was technically the leading receiver. I mean, he had the same amount of catches as Devonta Adams, but he had 30 more yards or 40 more yards. So it's crazy that Devonta Adams isn't going to be your leading receiver in a game. But once they took him away, I mean, like I said, D'Amico did an outstanding job taking him away for the most part. All respect goes out to the Green Bay's defense. I mean, we only scored 13 points, and to be honest, if it wasn't for our special teams getting a touchdown, I mean, we didn't score a touchdown. So yeah, it was kudos to their defense. They hit us in the mouth just as much as we hit them in the mouth. We all had problems with the elements. Jimmy threw some good balls that were dropped, and then he threw some bad balls that should have been pick sixes. He had I counted at least 3 or 4 throws that should have been pick sixes. And if anybody says that he's the reason, stop it. Just stop. You're looking for reasons to make him better than what he is, because he was not good in this game. Okay? He was not good. He had a couple of good throws, and we're not going to dwell on the negative, but he had a couple of good throws, and the rest of it was, I mean, he was affected by the weather, and he's got injuries. So I didn't expect him to be a world beater in this game. But like I said, all respect goes out to Green Bay's defense. They really held our run game in check for the most part. And I mean, Debo's going Debo. But I mean, none of the running backs the 49er running backs got averaged 4 yards a carry. None of them did. So they did their job. They did their job. And Green Bay's special teams ended up being the one special teams in the league that was worse than the 49ers special teams. And that's really what the game came down to. And I can't smile enough about it. It was a that game. I mean, I can look back on it and laugh at it now, but in the moment, I was just biting nail. It was a nail biter, and I was sitting there, just, oh my God, we have to, like, because they kept giving us chances, kept giving us really great field position, and the 49ers just kept squandering it time after time after time. And I was just, I couldn't believe that the game was so close towards the end. But we here, and now we're going to move on to the offense. Move on to the 49er offense. Enough talking about Green Bay. They're no longer in the playoffs, so we don't need to talk about them anymore. But the 49er offense, Jimmy, like I said, Jimmy was good and bad. But the weather, we knew was going to be a problem. We knew the weather and his injuries were going to be an issue. He went 11 of 19, 131 yards, 1 interception. No touchdown. Like, I mean, you can look at those stats, and if you tell me that he was the reason, or give him credit for getting them down the field for the field goal, that's false. It's false. He was 11 of 19 for 131 yards and 1 interception. Let me just say it again. His performance was what his stat line says. This is one of those instances where I say the numbers are the numbers. Okay. And, but yeah, Jimmy, but he did make a couple of great throws. To be honest, he should have had a touchdown on the one shot to Kittle. I mean, this game probably at the end of it, it probably shouldn't have even come down to the last field goal, because Kittle should have had that. I mean, hit him in the hands. And then Juwan Jennings, I think right after that, hit him in the hands and he dropped it. I think the 49ers were really having a hard time getting used to the weather, especially the receivers, until they really started just getting juiced up by the fact that by the special teams play. I think they got jacked up about that, and all of a sudden they started magically catching the ball. I don't know what they were doing on the sideline, but all of a sudden magically they started catching the ball. But like I said, Jimmy, I mean, for the most part, he wasn't good, but everybody on offense had some blame. Just like I was just talking about, Elijah Mitchell ran for some tough yards when he needed to. He had 17 carries, 53 yards, 3 receptions for 18 yards. He played really in this context, in the context of this game, and the fact the weather and the conditions, and the fact that he didn't fumble the ball. He still has yet to have a fumble in the NFL. I mean, the kid is good, and he was exactly what we needed him to be. Did he necessarily run the ball well? I think he missed a couple of holes, but I mean, the weather, I mean, I can't stress this enough. You cannot expect perfect football in these conditions, under these conditions. So yeah, Elijah Mitchell, for the most part, I think he did what he needed to do. Debo Samuel. Let's talk about Debo Samuel for a minute. This man, MVP of this team. MVP of this team. It's not even close. 10 carries, 39 yards, which not a ton of yards, but they also had 3 receptions, 44 yards. He didn't have a touchdown in this game. But you know what? He was the MVP because he got us in position for the field goal. He had a crazy, I got to believe he told Kyle, let me return the kick. And he ended up getting to the 50. I mean, the guy, whenever we needed it, he was there to give us a boost on offense, just enough to get us down the field and get a field goal. I mean, the guy was just, I don't even know. And I mean, he got hit really hard at one point towards the end of the game. I think he just got the wind knocked out of him. I'll be interested to look at the injury report when that comes out, but I think he just got the wind. It was a hard hit in the cold, and he got the wind knocked out of him. But I mean, Debo was the heart and soul of this team, and he is They are absolutely. I was kind of waffling on whether they were going to pay him or not. They are absolutely going to pay that man. They are absolutely going to pay him. He is at this. He's probably going to set the market for wide receivers at the end of this season, and that guy deserves every bit of it because he's not just a wide receiver. He's a wide receiver. He's a running back. He returns kicks. He's throwing touchdowns. He do whatever you need him to do. Whatever you need him to do, he gonna do it. That's Debo. So, but he was a drive extender, kick return. Oh, anyway. So we got and then we had Kittle, who had one of the most egregious drops all by himself that I've seen. But he got to redeem himself later. He ended up with 4 catches, 63 yards. He made some tough catches also. He made a great catch on the sideline that, I mean, I was like, oh, there's no way he could have been in on that. But I mean, the fact that he caught it, I mean, yeah, Kittle, he had to redeem himself. He was limping towards the end of this game. I'm hoping he's not hurt because we're going to need everybody for this NFC Championship game. But Jennings had 1 reception for 6 yards. There was obviously Jimmy there was only 11 catches total for the Niners in this game. So there wasn't a lot of catches to go around, but Jennings got 1 for 6 yards, and he really wasn't a factor in this game. Nobody else was a factor in this game. Juszczyk had a nice little cute run for a little bit, and that's really it. Ayuk, no catches. Ayuk wasn't even involved in this game. So it was just, but I mean, Jimmy only threw the ball 19 times. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity for the ball to really, for anybody to get a substantial amount of targets. But yeah, so the offense really was non-existent in this game. I think they did considering the weather and considering the circumstances, I absolutely blame them for the drops. Absolutely blame them for the drops. And I do blame Jimmy for holding on to the ball too long and taking more sacks than he should have. But it was what it was. Green Bay's defense was stellar in this game. You cannot take that away from them. But let's move on to the defense, who was really the star other than it was really the defense and special teams that was the star of this game. And D'Amico Ryans, I'm gonna say it again. As far as the MVP of our coaching staff, D'Amico Ryans. I mean, that man. Like I said, he's gonna be a head coach. It is what it is. But we had no Ambry Thomas, which you'd be like, oh well, what does it matter? He's a rookie. But Ambry Thomas had been really playing well over the past 3 games, and he was downright aggressive in the last game. I believe he had a contusion in his knee, and everybody said that he was going to play, but he didn't end up playing. But it was an issue early. Dante Johnson is not a guy that you want guarding Devonta Adams, and he was forced to guard Devonta Adams over and over again on that first drive, and that was really how they got down the field. So I don't know if Ambry Thomas could have stopped what they were doing on offense on that first drive because of the way that the coverage was, but who knows? I just feel like Ambry would have at least been more competitive at the catch point. So, but the D-line eventually just took control of this game. And that's really what our defense came down to in this game. It was because of the weather. I'm going to keep going back to the weather. Because of the weather, because of the game, the way that the game was playing out, it really was just this battle was in the trenches. It was in the trenches. And the 49ers D-line just they were just destroying Green Bay's offensive line. Not early, because early it looked like Green Bay was kind of asserting their will on the D-line. And but Bosa ended up with 2 sacks. Armstead had 2 sacks, and Ebicom had 1. And so they had 5 sacks. But they were pressuring him all night long. They would not let him stay on his spot. One of Bosa's, specifically the one Bosa sack that I remember, was the one where Aaron Rodgers was doing his normal thing where he lets the defensive line get up the field and then he runs out the front or runs out the side. And Bosa saw him do it and caught him, and Rodgers didn't see him coming, and he got his leg. It was only a loss of 1, but that could have been a huge play. And so it was just a masterful job done. And I mean, just gritty performance by this defensive line. They shut off the faucet of the run. Like, they were not going to let him run, and they were getting after Aaron Rodgers just off of 4. And I think that is, in the last 3 weeks, we faced 3 of the best offensive lines in the NFL. And the fact that this D-line could dominate with just 4 rushing should tell you that it's going to be a long day for whoever they're playing. It doesn't matter who it is. So phenomenal job by Ward. Secondary overall, confusing Rodgers. There was a lot of Jimmy Ward coming down into looking like he was going to either blitz or cover somebody underneath, and then he would just go back down into coverage and help bracket Devonta Adams. And he was just confusing. That was enough to take away Devonta Adams from Rodgers, and he just didn't know what to do after that. That's the way it looked. He tried to keep going to the running backs, but even then, at that point, the 49ers were covering all that too. So it was a phenomenal job. Warner and the linebackers tackling was tremendous. Maybe not in that first drive, but after that they cleaned all that up, and tremendous job by the linebackers. Just shutting the faucet off. We were getting penetration. It was. I mean, I can't say enough about this defense. There's not really there wasn't really a lot of wow plays other than because of how the game script was going. But the fact that they could shut the faucet, the Green Bay goes right down the field on them in the first drive, and then they shut the faucet off after that. They were still running the ball, but once they got to midfield, like, shut the faucet off. You're not running the ball anymore. You're not passing the ball anymore. And they just held Aaron Rodgers. After that point, there was nothing that could be done. So, it was tremendous performance by the defense. But my original prediction was 49ers 26, Packers 23. But the result was 49ers 13, Packers 10. I said in my last video that I believed in DeMeco Ryans' defensive strategy, and I thought that they would make the Packers one-dimensional, and it didn't quite happen the way that I thought it would happen, but because I wasn't planning on A.J. Dillon getting hurt, but it still ended up happening. They became one-dimensional in the second half, and the 49ers just shut that faucet off. But it was the weirdest game ever. It was the weirdest game to watch ever. Me and my wife were sitting there watching it, and and she said a couple of things I put on Twitter that were it was pretty hilarious. Like about Jimmy saying, maybe he can't see correctly. But weirdest game ever. Special teams was a weakness all season for the 49ers. Every season we're holding our breath, every game we're sitting there holding our breath because of special teams. And what happens? Special teams ends up being our strength in this game with the field goal block and then a punt block for a touchdown. It was, which I forgot to mention. Shout out to Hufanga. That guy, he may not be a starter. He may not be a starter in the secondary, but he just finds a way to be in the right place at the right time. And I feel like that's a skill. And I feel like next season, he may take a big jump. Take a big jump forward. But that punt block for a touchdown, when the ball went up, I was like, oh my God, they blocked it. And then I was like, get the ball, because nobody seemed to know where the ball was. And it just bounced right to Hufanga for the touchdown. Oh, I like I said, I'm about to lose my voice again, just yelling and screaming about that play. But nothing can be taken away from this game. There's no amount of information that we can take away from this game to look forward to the next game, because the conditions and the weather and how this game played out, there's nothing to take we can't take anything from this game. We're just gonna have to look on to the next game, and we're gonna have to compare. It's the same. We're gonna compare the teams the same way. We're gonna look at the matchup, see where the matchup is, but there's nothing can be taken from this game other than Debo is a monster. Debo's a monster, and this defensive line is a monster. But Trent Williams, Debo were hurt. How extensive are those injuries? That's a question. And I just want to say, this is a special team. This is a special team, and a lot of people are going to laugh when I say that because you guys just lost. You guys just won 13-10. I mean, it's a terrible game. The Packers should have beat you. Okay, like we shouldn't be here right now. 49ers shouldn't be in the NFC Championship right now. We're playing with house money. This is a special team, guys. When things bounce the way that they've bounced for the 49ers, doesn't matter that Jimmy G isn't the best quarterback. Doesn't matter. The team has just shown you whoever needs to step up, when they need to step up, they step up. And we find ways to win. And I'm not crediting Jimmy G with that. I'm saying that I'm saying that about this team overall. I mean, there's one thing that cannot be denied about this team is their defense has come into its own. I'm gonna say it. This defense is better than 2019. And I'm gonna say this too, because I think it's factual at this point, is that DeMeco Ryans is better than Robert Saleh as a defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh didn't, I think, as good of a defensive coordinator as he was, it was different because he didn't adjust well, like in game, like DeMeco does. DeMeco sees what's going on, like he has a game plan in place, but then when he sees what's going on, he's almost like Shanny. He almost plays it like Shanahan does, where he runs a few plays, see what you're gonna do, and then he kind of plays off of what you're doing. DeMeco does the same thing, and it's refreshing because it's something that I think all of us fans wish that coordinators would do more often. And like, I don't see how you can continue to get beat the same way over and over and over again. Just adjust. And it sounds so simple, but DeMeco is the first coordinator that I've seen consistently be able to do it. And I think this is a special team. I think this is a special defense. This defensive line is deeper, and I just think that they're better than the 2019 defensive line. The 2019 defensive line struggled against the run. They struggled against the run, and this team just finds a way. They find a way. Like, you're not running the ball on this team anymore. So now what? Because the answer for the 49ers in the past was you get a mobile quarterback, and you run the ball. You run the ball because they're not great running ball. They want to get their defensive linemen up the field and trying to sack the quarterback. Well, now the 49ers linebackers, I think, are just so good that even when the defensive line can't bottle them, they're right there to clean up whatever. And y'all might say that Warner's not all pro Fred anymore. He is doing exactly what it takes to win these games. And we have to appreciate this defense, I think, as one of the best I've seen. I don't know if they're as good as You know what? I'm going to put them up there with 2013 defense, just for different reasons. They're just different, but I think it all comes down to D'Amico Ryans and how he schemes it up. There's no reason why this defense should be as good as it is with the players in the secondary and these corners. There's no way they should be, but they are somehow just taking everything away and just, like I said, turning the faucet off. But NFC Championship game, who's it going to be, Brady or Stafford? I personally want Stafford. I don't want to see Brady. I heard a lot of people saying that's matchup wise, it would be that Tampa Bay would be a better matchup for us. I don't think so. I do not think so. I think that I don't want to see Brady. Brady is a gamer. Brady's a gamer, and I don't want him to prove everything I just said about this defense wrong. So I just don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. I think that Tampa Bay has a tough team, just like we do, and I think that they can be physical also, especially on their defensive line, and I think they can be physical on from a wide receiver standpoint, and I think that they can be physical from a running game standpoint. I think that they can be physical from from just a defense overall standpoint. So they've got good linebackers also. I would rather see the Rams, a known commodity. We know that we can beat the Rams. Not that we can't beat Tampa Bay, but I would rather, for matchup purposes, I would rather see the Rams. I think we match up better against the Rams, and it would be once again it would be like a home game, because 49er faithful going to show up in our stadium in SoFi. Like it's just crazy. It's crazy how they turn that into the home game. So yeah, that's what I think of with this game. I know this kind of went long, guys, but this game had so much, and I really didn't even have much to talk about other than I'm just hyped about how great this defense, how great the plays that this special teams made. But it's really, I think this is a special team. I'm just going to go back to it, but thank you guys so much for listening. I know that this video is going to come later than it normally would after the game. And but I had to wait and get my emotions in check. and then yeah, it was just it was a great game. And I love that the 49ers are still in the playoffs. I love that we are going to this NFC Championship and we have another chance to go to the Super Bowl. Get hype, 49er fans, and be ready for this all the narratives. It's all going to play. We're going to hear all the stuff, all the numbers, all that stuff. It don't matter. Doesn't matter. Analytics, numbers, boys, go sit down. This is a playoff football. So be ready, guys. But thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And remember, subscribe, and it's going to be on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, all the things. So please hit it up, hit my podcast up, and like I said, give me some likes and subscriptions. Let me know how you feel about the podcast. If there's anything I could do better, I really appreciate all the feedback. And thank you guys again, and go Niners.